We're back. So, doing a little video about Anji, something I wanted to do since I think a lot of people hate fighting him. I think he's in the same boat with Slayer. Not to the extreme, but I definitely think this character is focused around one big thing, and I think people hate that, especially with what that is. Obviously, spin. Yeah. But yeah, no, I got OoeyGooey here on the mic. Say what's up.
What up? Wait.
Obviously, OoeyGooey coming back from being an evil finalist, which is huge, especially on Anji, a character we never thought would ever be on the big Evo stage. But I guess that kind of leads into my first question. Talk to me about outside of spin. We'll talk about spin and fish alone, like after.
Yeah,
but besides those changes, what has caused Anji to be much more consistent over time? Like, how did he get to where he is now?
The main thing is the buffs to Fujin, really. I don't know where you want to start, but like Fujin used to be like terrible, and it's like it was like his only like useful special cancel, really. Was like, you only have this or like this. I'm like, that's kind of like, that's super minus.
Yeah.
So, they have the fame data, it's like -8, they made Vin faster, Shin's +7, and then, all of that really helps. That was back in Season 2, and then, then we get to, when Fish started happening, and then Wild Assault as well.
Yeah.
Anji uses Wild Assault really well in his combos and his pressure, because it supplements his pressure. It makes sure, he doesn't have to always just go into the same mind game off his H buttons, you know? And, a lot of the damage changes as well.
Yeah. Anji before was a character... Yeah, I was actually about to mention the 5H. Anji was a character before that, his combos were pretty lackluster. Didn't get a lot off them. Pretty corner dependent. But now, obviously, I believe this was the start of Season 3, maybe? Or maybe it was the patch before. But they made his 5H launch. How big is that for him and his mid-screen combos?
Oh, it was very good, yeah. So basically, it made his corner routes a lot more consistent. Like, he could... Basically, like, this frame trap is now, like, super threatening, whereas, like, before, this is, like, literally all you get. Like even if you're, like, up close, you know what I mean? But now, like 2S or 5/, and the 5H itself is like a lot scarier. Oh yeah, and of course the Nagi hot buffs. The Nagi hot buffs was like so good. Yeah. Because you can do like this now. Like, that's like crazy for spin punishes and frame traps and stuff. He gets like a full screen corner combo. Like,
yeah, I remember when this change happened, a lot of people were complaining about this. And I remember it got to the point where people were comparing this move to Beyblade. Yeah. I guess, alright, you know what? Let's talk about it. Okay, spin. So, obviously, spin is a thing. Talk to me about spin, how good you thought it was before they implement a fit, like before they added fish. And then talk to me about spin once they added fish.
Before they added fish, I'd use spin, like, differently. I think a lot of people did. Basically, like, I used it to control more, like, mid-screen pressure. And because, like, before the fish, if you spun, like, a punch move or, like, a kick move, maybe even, then you often wouldn't get a punish. So I was more incentivized to, like, space my spins better, because of that. But now with the change, you can now use spin in a lot more situations to, like, beat projectiles or beat, like, just a lot of moves in general. You can just, you can be a lot less careful with it, and it's more consistent reward. So, yeah, like, before all those changes, you mainly used it to call out the bigger moves and not the smaller moves. Now it's just, like, now it's just a more consistent counter poke,
Gotcha. Danger. And now, obviously, fish. So, talk to me about fish in particular, what it does, and, like, overall, do you think it's something that needs to be adjusted, or do you think it's good, like, it's fine?
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine, because there's a lot of counterplay. For instance, in the projectile situation, many characters can, like, meaty safely outside of Fish's range, and still, like, hit the extended, like, may not hit the extended hitbox, but, like, manage to, like, hit, like, Anji if he does nothing, and, like, and make Fish whiff. Like, it's not a very, active hitbox, so to speak.
Okay.
It's mainly for like it's just you can just like even if that wasn't true, you can always just like avoid the fish for these like projectile situations. You can just like back off Anji and then set up safely elsewhere. It's like it's not very busted for projectiles. Like for example, like Testament when they zone with like Crow, you can't like just fish through. They can like meaty with Far Slash because it's so big. And so like yeah, it's just not like you get free pressure with fish unless you're literally like in the
this
corner.
one, yeah.
Like I spin a projectile, then you just have nowhere to run. But like that's on you, to be honest. And then in the PRC situation, you just like PRC back and you can just disengage entirely. Or you can bait it out with a backdash. It's like, it's fine RPS, really. And it's been like this for a while. So at this point, I think it's just like, it's just a balanced, like, new move, honestly.
Got you. Okay. So that's actually interesting because obviously you're the person who plays Anji, so you're more informed than others that just fight him and give their opinion on the character. But usually when, and I'm pretty sure you can agree with this, usually when you hear people talk about spin and fish, they're like, oh, best move in the world, right? Like, best move in the game. Just, spin and then fish. You can't throw it, strike invul, this, plus guard crush.
Yeah, like, the solution is that you just, like, disengage and let him whiff. It's literally just, like, a DP. Even then, like, if you do it, if you, like, PRC post parry and then you jump, you can air block the fish, and then you're only like -1 or some shit, but you get sent like all the way back. There's just so much like you can do to avoid like the worst case scenario, which is like you block it on the ground, you get hit by it. It's I don't think it's very busted.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, and so overall, then let me ask you this. How good is Anji's neutral? Because I think this is, depending on who you ask, I think it could go from, oh, he's the GOAT at neutral to, his neutral is whatever. Like, where do you think it is?
I think he's the GOAT, yeah. I'm in that camp. Like, he literally has, okay, it's balanced in a way. I'll get to it in a bit. But, like, he literally has the ability to, like, ignore most pokes in the game if on the layer 1 because of spin, and also at the same time set up his pressure. Like he gets all that damage from the Nagiha, or you can get like he sets up a little IPS on block. And yeah, I mean his main problem is that he's kind of slow. That's about it really. Like to compensate for all this, and his buttons are not very fast as well to compensate. Well, maybe not fast, but like they're not the most privileged hitboxes. You're not gonna beat Kai with like, these buttons. I feel like you mostly rely on spin in that matchup, in my opinion. I think what balances it out is that like when you block Fujin, it's like -8. You're like in their face and stuff, and you can get mashed out pretty easily because you're just like 2K2D, etc. Nagiha is also super minus, and like it has an extended hitbox, but like. I guess that's the strong part as well, because it's very volatile, because Anji, when he hits Nagiha, then he gets a full combo. Then with the Wild Assault changes as well. So I think he's the GOAT, but it's like he's a balanced GOAT, in my opinion. I think it's a fair game.
Got you. What about his offense? So obviously you went into how Fusion has changed over time, and the overhead obviously has changed over time, and the low is better, right? Fusion as a whole is just better. But obviously he's good at neutral, so he's good at one thing. And obviously, we'll get into the defensive part about him later. But what about his offense? How good do you believe it is? Because personally, I think he does good damage, but it's not, in terms of hitting the opponent, it's not amazing. It's good, it does the job, especially with meter. It's definitely a lot more scary. But how good do you think it is?
Okay, so I think he does most of his good work in the corner, of course, as you put me here. And the main thing is that while Fujin is kind of like, it's a really good mind game, it's all in the one move, really, so that's it. This is like a green light. Oh yeah, you start thinking about Fujin. I think you gotta like, in my opinion, it's kind of like Kai offense, or like, like it's decent, it's good, but you know, it comes with a lot of this, like, you know, jump over this, you know, get a counter hit,
Yeah,
block
you can get
this,
punished
get
for that, yeah.
your 2K 2D or 2K 684 if you go loose. Oh my goodness. You know, Vin, you know, if you get really good at blocking that, you can really, you know, pressure me, because you know it's -9, and also like, I mean, you know, it's kind of obvious, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I have me there. I'm going for Ven. You can throw Ven too. You know, there's a lot of weaknesses to Fujin that a lot of people, you know, don't always do. More people have been throwing Ven recently, which is good.
Okay.
You know, the Karas, like, you know, the empty Fujins here.
Yeah.
Those are like big gaps. They're tricky, but they are big gaps. You know, you can throw those two, mash them, whatever, and yeah, I mean, I guess like. Some like the best thing, you know, is like a fake out like this.
Yeah.
Like bam, you know. But you know that.
Meter.
I guess, and that's really good. But in terms of like, he has very, you know, interactable offense because you know, like this, you're like always in like mashable range here, like 2S, Fujin especially, DPs and stuff. But I mean, you know, to be fair, DPs have gone like less viable thanks to the DPRC changes, so that's really helpful.
Yeah.
But you know, he's kind of weak to FD, I guess. Pretty weak to FD, like for instance, like 2S 5H kind of whiffs. Yeah, whiffing. You know.
Okay.
So you gotta do more greedy stuff like that. You know.
Gotcha.
And another thing, like, oh yeah, right, we haven't even mentioned like the Shitsu.
Yeah.
How it's kind of weak to the flex shield. So the flex shield here, I don't get any like pressure off that if you the flex shield.
Gotcha.
It's kind of free. That's the main thing. And in general, like the flex shield against Fujin in general, you know, there's just a lot you can do. That's my point.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just listing things, but you know,
deflect,
there's just like a lot
IB,
you can do.
yeah, deflect, IBFD.
IB Fujin, yeah, I being Fujin especially, because then you know Ven is more like throwable. Even Nagiha, if I delay it wrong, then I'm always in the mashable range. Then Nagiha is always punchable. I place it like a level above Kai, but it's not like Soul. It's not like you know, a mix-up character.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
So
you know, he's not like Sin.
Yeah. So he's
because he's green light by Rekka.
Yeah. So
you know, it's aight. You know, I think it's good pressure, but it can, you know, you can solve
interact
it if you're good.
Yeah. So okay, do you believe then? Obviously, when at the start of season 3, they removed the counter hits on Rekkas, like we said. So do you believe he's been compensated for that?
Yes, very much so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because no one else gets mealess, you know, Vecca in the pickup, you know, like this. To be honest.
Okay.
And that's why I believe, you know, I'm more optimistic about the pressure, even though it's as I've said, it's volatile, but it's volatile in the way that like is, you know, like you can win like consistently if you have your opponent's like headspace in your brain, you know.
What about, so obviously, I guess we could talk about system changes a little here. So obviously in the patch, the most recent one, they nerfed the burst gain on wall splat, wall break over time, right? And they obviously removed the hard knockdown on Wild Assault as well. How big? Obviously, Anji is the only character in the game that has 5 guts, I believe, right? So I'm not sure how his post wall break situation looked with the hard knockdown, but I'm gonna assume from someone who doesn't play Anji, I'm gonna assume that the Wild Assault changes, more hard knockdown definitely helps him due to having higher HP, and like you said, he's the GOAT at neutral, so playing more of a neutral-based game is probably better for him than, you know, a character without a reversal.
Yeah.
So talk to me, how much did the Wild Assault changes affect him? And obviously the burst changes as well, which kind of play into his health, like 5 guts, not getting as much burst, but just talk to me about everything.
So, what I have in mind is that, like, but, you know, Nagiha is a very common, like, starter for Anji in the neutral. So pre-patch, when Anji broke wall with Wild Assault, he'll build them so much bar because he did like 5k Wild Assault that would like really make the health like you know, this bad scaling, and it builds him like all this burst, you know, and that was really bad. But now that Well, at least it was really bad against like heavy characters like you know, Potemkin, Goldlewis. You know, there was more of a matchup kind of thing, where it almost didn't feel with it. Now Anji like really feels good in this new patch because he can now use Wild Assault more liberally, because he doesn't have to spend it on you know, hard knockdown, wall break.
Yeah.
You know, he can use it for his combos. He can use it more for his pressure. And I think he, you know, he's not necessarily hit by the pushback change as much, I think, unless the like IBFDing or something, because now he can like walk back.
Yeah.
You know, and like actually shimmy a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because, you know, his close slash like leaves him so close, you know. That's more of a change that like hits like Soul, for instance, where he's like +8, so like, you know, okay. +4. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on Fraud Watch. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Overall, what do you think is something people misunderstand about Anji? Obviously, you went over how Fish has more counterplay than like average people think. And you went over how, you know, Anji's offense isn't maybe as good as people might think. There's definitely more interacting points than you might think. So what about something else about Anji? Or if that's too hard to answer, then what about something like people should be doing more against Anji that you don't really see, I guess?
I think more consistent counterplay to like Carvin. Like this, I robbed so many games from Carvin. You know, because it's just kind of like messed up.
Yeah.
But you know, if you throw that really throws me for a loop, and then I gotta like readapt. I don't throw it off the table, but you know, that's something. And I feel like more people should deflect shield butterfly. I don't know where exactly to go with that, with like counterplay, because like, you know, it just sends you so far away, even mid screen. If you deflect shield this, okay.
There we go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like. I think I have to like commit to running forward or something like that, but that's still like something that throws me off, I guess. Yeah, and especially in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, as someone who plays Zato, the flex shield, it's not the end of the world, but when it's so unexpected, it's like, oh, like I was gonna go set up my offense in a certain way, and then when you do it, I'm just like, oh, like damn, if I was ready for it, then like. I could have played around it better, but you're not, you know, you're not thinking about it as much. What about, so overall, after everything, do you believe Anji is about the same this patch? Is he maybe a little stronger? Is he a little weaker? What do you think?
I think it's matchup dependent, because it was, because, you know, some matchups got a little better, some matchups got a little worse. Obviously, like the DP characters, they got better, because now, before, the only way to bait DPRC was to like backdash a mid screen so that I don't get sent into block stun, or like I hope Bakshin, you know, does it, or like makes it whiff, or I try to disrupt the input or something like that. So that's better, because for my offense, in my opinion, I think it's more intuitive for me as a player anyway to like just block whenever I see whenever I think of DP instead of like throw it. So, you know, I'm not really hurt, you know. And but for a character like, and you know, the white Wild Assault kit is obviously a little better, because on top of it being minus now, you know, we've always been able to spin it, you know, so it's double like unoptimal to use it against Anji now. Okay. But I guess like one thing is that I kind of don't like is like against zoners, now that we can't, you know, hard knockdown as much now. It's a little rougher. But that's about it really, you know, because you can't like, you know, loop offense against them. But they can't loop me either, so I don't know. Yeah. Sometimes it just feels rough. Okay. So, you know, he's about the same, a little better, I think. Yeah.
So DP matchups got better, but zoning matchups like got a little worse.
Yeah. Like I think Chaos is like much stronger, but you know.
That's HC. Yeah, that character is a little out of control right now, so I understand that. What's one thing that you think? Obviously, there's different ways to play Anji. Obviously, we have the Anjis that don't... I mean, again, spin is such a polarizing move that you kind of categorize Anjis by how much they spin. And it's like, well, the different ways to play Anji might be, oh, he spins a little, or he spins less, but what is one thing you've noticed, especially since being at the top, obviously, coming off from a huge Evo placement, what's one thing you realize separates the best Anjis with the not the best Anjis?
I think it's Anji players who are more inclined to play defensive, because truthfully, and we didn't mention this, but like, there's a lot of counterplay to spin like in neutral in general because everyone can jump. Everyone can jump, and that does like beat spin. A lot of low Anji players like don't understand that, so like they'll do Fujin, but then like Vanwithal is just over here jumping, and then they'll hit him with jump slash and then get counter hit.
Yeah.
So that's the main counterplay, to be honest, along with dash blocking, as I've discussed earlier. Making Fujin minus in your face. Or just throwing it as well. If you manage to look at what your opponent does, and be a little more honest, he's jumping a lot, to avoid my spin. Then you use your ginormous 6B, get a huge counter hit. That's another thing. He has such a great 6B counter hit.
Yeah.
And if you're more patient, then Anji will surely thrive, because he's all about calling out habits in neutral, in his offense, and in his pressure. Not his pressure, on defense. Yeah.
Okay. And
just patience, really.
Yeah, I hear you. I guess this is kind of. Let me ask you. So, as someone kind of going back to Fish, but not really, as someone who knew Anji was gonna get a new move, what were you expecting? Like, were you or not expecting, but what did you want? What's an area Anji struggled in before that you were like, okay, I kind of want them to maybe add a new move to fix this area? And then when they released Fish, and you got your hands on it, what was your initial reactions, and were you like, okay, this is kind of ties into what I wanted?
If I recall correctly, they announced the new moves along with showing Anji's Fish.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that much room to speculate. All we knew is that it had invincible properties after spin. I thought maybe it might be besides just what it is right now, I thought it was maybe a meterless DP. I would have liked that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is way better than what that would have been, obviously.
Yeah.
I think this really did this is what fixed Anji's main problem pre-patch, which is inconsistency with using spin. Because you had to use a lot of your other tools to compensate for spin not being able to, beat such a big stop sign. Because there's more counterplay, and you can run up 2P and stuff.
Yeah.
So, whereas now you can I can just cover such a large window of attacks if I hold down spin.
It's funny that sorry to cut you off, but it's sorry that you mentioned the 2P, because I will say this, and I believe I talked about it with Lurie as well, but because he was talking about the Anji Fast matchup, and I told him, well, at EVO, funny enough, I didn't watch your set with Papel. I didn't get to watch it. But as the set ended, Papel got up and went to his friends, and I was standing right there, and I heard him, he goes, yeah, no, this matchup sucks. I can't jab spin anymore. This shit is unbearable. And I was like,
yeah. yeah. That was huge for a lot of matchups, because everyone was oh, all I have to do is just just go in, and then I can play an RPS where he doesn't get a punish on me. He's only 0 even minus depending on the move. And on top of that, being able to go through projectiles with the Fish is really good, because it used to be an actively a losing situation before the Fish. If
especially with this.
Drills. You couldn't do anything. He just had to hold that. Now he can actively kill Eddie. He can actively
oh my gosh. Yeah.
He can actually go through the items. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I'll obviously post Evo and playing the character this patch, especially from what you've played. Where do you think Anji is? And not on a tier list, but if you had to put him in a tier, not an exact placing, but obviously there's the top tiers, and then you have the characters that can win solo, the characters that can do it, and then everyone else kind of in that floating pool below that. Where would you put Anji?
Anji can definitely win solo at this point. I think he's got enough tools to gap a lot of hard matchups.
Yes.
I think the only matchups I'm kind of confused about are the complex characters Asuka and Happy Chaos. As far as I know, sometimes you just gotta win round start against them, and then otherwise you just gotta be right on defense, which is a little difficult. I feel Anji's got some of the best round start, some of the best neutral, I guess, kind of against them. He's got a good rush attack, I guess. A lariat, so to speak. So
Yeah.
It's a little harder, but you know, I think Anji is like definitely a character that could like win a major, you know, solo. In fact, you know, he's already done basically things that like would make you think that, you know, like Brone, you know, Genesis X, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe that is everything, but I did want to ask if you could give advice to newer Anji players, maybe people looking to pick up the character, whether they like his design or like him from the older game, or just, you know, think maybe he's more stable this patch. What is some advice you'd give to people playing Anji? Or maybe advice that you wish you knew sooner when you started playing the character?
Okay. I'd say, I guess, you know, I guess I'd say patience is the name of the game in like every aspect of play. You know, even though I think what makes it interesting is that like spin is very, you know, strong on paper, but if you misuse it, then you know, you're gonna get hit. You know, you can't just like always do this because it's very it's very telegraphed. You know, I think the real threat that makes Anji, you know, like really scary is knowing, you know, patience, you know, knowing when to do this and not like, you know, just saying I should do this always, you know. It takes a bit more critical thinking than you'd think. Right? I'm not saying that Anji is like, you know, the hardest character. I'm saying like for a new Anji character, it's just a bit harder than you'd think, you know.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So make every decision with like, you know, a clear mind. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
And sorry, but you brought up a good point. So in that term, in like the, you know, when talking about difficulty of characters, obviously everyone has their own opinion where a character might be. And I believe for Anji, a lot of people think he's like one of the easiest characters in this game. Especially like you said, there's more meaning behind spin, right? Like you don't just do it. You can't just, basically what you're saying is you can't just win from it by just doing it. It's not as like ooh gaga as you think it might be. But
yeah.
So where would you personally place Anji in the like in difficulty terms? Like, do you think he's easy to win with, really easy to play? Is he harder? Is he in the middle?
I think he's easy to pick up, hard to master, definitely, because at a low level, you can definitely get the sense that, oh, you know, not everyone knows what to do against, you know, Anji, like at all, really. But then, you know, as you get up to a higher level, you will not believe, like, the shit that people pull out, you know, like, like, you know, the tech, you know, the gaps that you didn't even know existed, like, oh, what the heck, I didn't know 2S 5H can be backdash. By the way, you can totally do that, yeah. And, you know, I think, with how it's simple, like, this premise is, like, oh, invincible move, you can lose track of, like, how to use it effectively, and then in, like, a surprising way, if you're not, like, you know, thinking and grinding it out, you know? That's what I'd say. You can't be like a casual, like, player and, you know, like, really, like, super succeed with Anji. I guess you could, like, say that for a lot of characters, but yeah, that's what I feel. Like, I think it's more of, like, a matchup per basis thing. Because I feel like, in my experience, I've always had to, like, grind out matchups. Even though, like this is like busted on paper, you know, you gotta figure out like how to use it in the RPS situations, you know, and what buttons beat which, like, you know, does 5K beat far slash, you know, you know, I guess it's just whatever. It takes a lot, I'd say.
Yeah, I hear you. Definitely a very, in your opinion, a very misunderstood character for sure.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Well, unless you have anything else to add, I believe that's it. I will put OoeyGooey's socials on the screen. I'll put your Twitch on the screen. I'll put your Twitter and your Discord. If anyone wants to get in contact with OoeyGooey, maybe some Anji tips, how to fight him or how to play him, anything of that sort, go hit him up. But yeah, I'll leave all the socials on the screen. Thanks for hopping on, and that's going to do it. Thank you.